Hey kids, welcome to this week's Kids Win. It's Tessa and Eden, and this week we are going to be talking about peer pressure. Has anyone ever asked you to do something you really didn't want to do? Something that made you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, or even something that might hurt someone? It can be hard to say no, but you can do it. We are here to help teach you how to say no to negative peer pressure.
Come on, it's no big deal.
Everybody does it. Your parents won't find out.
Just do it. If you don't, we won't hang out with you anymore.
Have any of your friends ever said anything like this to you? This is peer pressure. Well, we haven't been able to do a puppet show with you guys for a while, and so we are excited to introduce Douglas the Muppet to you today. He has some very interesting things to say about peer pressure.
The fact that everyone's doing something does not make it a good idea. Hey guys, it's me again, Douglas, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about something called peer pressure. Now, you've probably heard that term, peer pressure, and it basically just means doing what everybody else is doing just because, well, everyone else is doing it. Now, peer pressure isn't always a bad thing. You can have positive peer pressure. I've got some friends at my school, and they're really smart and they get really good grades. And after I started hanging out with them, I kind of started getting better grades too, because their study habits kind of became my study habits. But there are a lot of times where people are doing something, even if it's a lot of people that are doing something, and it's not a good thing. So the other day I was at the playground, and there were a whole bunch of kids, and they were all jumping off of the jungle gym, really high up. They were jumping down from a really tall jungle gym. And I watched probably 8 or 10 kids jump off of this jungle gym. And I knew that looked like a really bad idea, like I was going to bust my leg. But I thought, well, all these other kids are doing it, so it must be okay. So I climbed up on the jungle gym, and I jumped off, and yeah, busted my leg really good. I had to walk around on crutches for like a month. And I had seen all these other kids doing it, and they were fine, but it did not turn out okay for me. And I knew that it looked like a bad idea, right? I did not think that this was a good idea, but I did it anyways because that's what everybody else was doing. In the Bible, God says that we should not conform to the pattern of this world, but that we should be transformed by the renewing of our minds. And basically what that's saying is that we shouldn't just, always go with the flow and always do what everybody else is doing, because if you never make your own decisions, if you just do what everybody else is doing, eventually you're going to get pretty busted up, physically, emotionally, or spiritually. You see, God wants us to make wise decisions. And a big part of that is, well, making decisions and not just doing what everybody else is doing. So my challenge to you guys today is this. It's that next time you see a whole bunch of people doing something and you think that that's probably a bad idea, pay attention. God wants us to make decisions based on what we know to be true and what God tells us to do. He doesn't want us to just do what everybody else is doing. He wants us to live for Him. And the other part of this challenge is, God wants us to make our own decisions based on what He tells us to do and what we know to be right. But I think it's also a really good idea to surround ourselves with friends who are doing what is right also. That way, any peer pressure in our lives is positive peer pressure that helps us to grow. So we should find friends that help us, not hurt us. So let's all do our best to not just go with the flow and not just do what the crowd is doing, but to live God's way.
Sometimes saying no seems scary and really hard to do, but it can actually be quite easy. Here are some easy ways to say no.
Hi, my name's Takedo, and this is the beginner's guide to saying no. Peer pressure is one thing all tweens have in common. We're influenced by our mates. It's not always a bad thing. Sometimes friends have good advice.
You look great in that shirt. You should wear that color more often.
But sometimes they pressure us into things we're not so keen to do. Not joining in might make you feel like a dork, but it won't feel as bad as doing something that isn't right for you. So what's the trick to saying no? Sometimes saying no is as simple as not saying yes. If your mates are doing something you're not comfortable with, just walk away. Most of the time, they'll be so caught up doing their own thing, they won't even notice. And when it comes to doing stuff just because your mates are, remember the consequences can be serious. Showing others a different way of behaving sends a strong message. And you don't need to preach to make a point. Actions speak louder than words. You might get hassled at first, but you'll probably find that eventually others will take a knee. A wild-type joke can take away attention from a tricky situation. No thanks, I only do the hard stuff. Got any concrete mix? Everybody loves a laugh. And not joining in doesn't mean you still can't be mates. If you offer something you're not ready for, suggest you do something else. You might find the person who offered only did because they felt pressured by their friends too. They might be just as relieved as you are. Insecurity is a normal part of growing up. Sometimes you just want to be like everybody else. But it's important to stay true to yourself. Confidence gets respect. Peer pressure only works if you let it. Know when to say no, then you can be who you want to be.
Sometimes it is really hard to do the right thing. So why don't we take a look at an Oreo? What makes up an Oreo? There are 3 parts: the cookie, the cream, and the cookie, right? Christians are the light in the darkness. So let us compare ourselves to the cream. The cream is surrounded by darkness. So when I squeeze the cookie, does the cream become the cookie? No. Even though it was pressed really hard, the cream still remained the cream. So no matter how hard the world presses in, let's do all we can to remain focused on God and be the light in the darkness God calls us to be. Sometimes it can feel hard to share God's love with others. If you are focused on living your life for God, you're making a difference, even if it doesn't really feel like it. Because what you say and do sticks with them forever, just like the cream sticks to the Oreo biscuit.
How can we as Christians stay light and full of life when the world is stark and angry? Well, Romans 12 verse 2 tells us to take our everyday, ordinary life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out.
We hope that today we have given you some tools to say no when you hear that little voice in your head telling you that this is not a good idea. This week, stay strong. Be the light in the darkness. Be the cream in the Oreo cookie. You can do it. We know you can. Bye for now.